The diner fell silent as Marcus's voice cut through the morning chatter. "Sir, we don't serve your kind here." The weatherman, in a faded Portland Fire Department jacket, didn't argue. He simply nodded once and turned to leave. Nobody noticed the slight bulge beneath his shirt, the medal that had cost him everything to earn. Nobody except Sophia, the young waitress who glimpsed something gold as he turned, something that would change everything in the next 5 minutes. The morning had started like any other at Ember Grill, a small establishment just outside Portland, Oregon. The smell of bacon and coffee filled the air, mixing with the soft chatter of the early breakfast crowd. Mostly locals who had been coming here for years. The diner sat at the edge of a district where firefighters often gathered, its windows offering views of distant evergreens and, on clear days, the snow-capped peak of MT Hood. The restaurant's warm interior, with its oak panels and vintage photographs of the city, had made it a favorite among both locals and first responders looking for home-cooked meals after long shifts. At least, that was before ownership changed 6 months ago. James Walker stared at the diner from across the street, hesitating before crossing. At 68, his body carried the weight of decades of service, weather hands, a slight limp from an old injury sustained in a structural collapse, and eyes that had seen more than most could imagine. His faded Portland Fire Department jacket had seen better days, much like James himself. 32 years battling infernos that consumed homes, businesses, and sometimes lives. The devastating Eagle Creek wildfire 2017, the downtown apartment complex collapse of 98 that killed 3 of his colleagues, and countless smaller emergencies where split-second decisions meant the difference between life and death. After such a career, retirement hadn't come easy. The nightmares still came, and civilian life remained an ill-fitting suit. But this morning, he had a purpose. His grandson's birthday was tomorrow, and the boy had been begging to meet at the best breakfast place in town, Ember Grill. According to locals, James wanted to check the place out first, see if it was appropriate for a 10-year-old celebration. Old habits die hard. Reconnaissance was in his blood. What he didn't know was that Ember Grill had changed hands 6 months ago. The new owner, Marcus Riley, no relation to the original family, had brought his own views with him from Seattle, along with grudge against firefighters after a rowdy group had damaged his previous restaurant during a celebration that got out of hand. As James pushed open the glass door, the little bell announced his arrival. A few heads turned, then quickly returned to their conversations and meals. He made his way to the counter where a young woman, Sophia, according to her name tag, offered a warm smile. "Coffee to start, sir?" she asked, already reaching for a mug. James nodded, settling onto a stool. "Thank you, miss. And maybe I could see a menu? Thinking of bringing my grandson here tomorrow for his birthday." Sophia's smile widened as she handed him a laminated menu. "How old will he be?" 10, James answered, a rare smile softening his weathered features. "Wants to be a firefighter like his grandpa someday." That's when Marcus emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a cloth. His eyes narrowed at James's jacket with its faded department emblem. James didn't notice, busy studying the children's menu options. "Sophia, order up for table 6, Marcus called, his voice sharp. As Sophia hurried away, Marcus approached James, his posture stiff. "Help you with something?" he asked, no trace of welcome in his tone. James looked up, still smiling slightly. "Just having some coffee. Checking your place out. My grandson's birthday is..." "We're pretty busy," Marcus cut him off, glancing around the half-empty diner. "Don't really have time for people just sitting around." James's expression shifted slightly, confusion crossing his features. "I'm planning to order breakfast. Just wanted to see if this would be good for my grandson's party tomorrow." Marcus folded his arms across his chest. "We don't do parties, and we're fully booked tomorrow." The diner had grown quieter, conversations dipping as people began to notice the tension at the counter. James straightened slightly, his first responder bearing automatic after decades of service. "I see," he said, his voice calm but clipped. "May I at least finish my coffee?" Marcus looked directly at him now, his voice dropping but still audible to nearby tables. "Sir, we don't serve your kind here. Firefighters bring trouble. I had to repair thousands in damages after a crew from Station 8 trashed my last place. Not dealing with that again." The words hung in the air like a physical thing. Sophia froze mid-step, coffee pot in hand. Several customers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. James's face remained impassive, a skill learned through years of crisis management. He reached into his pocket, placed a $5 bill next to his barely touched coffee. "Understood," he said quietly, rising from the stool. No argument, no protest. The dignity with which he carried himself made Marcus's words seem even harsher by contrast. As James turned to leave, the medal he always carried tucked inside his shirt on a chain around his neck shifted slightly. Sophia, standing closest, caught a glimpse of gold and red ribbon as the morning sunlight from the window struck it. Her eyes widened in recognition. James had nearly reached the door when Sophia's voice rang out. "Sir, wait, please." She hurried after him, ignoring Marcus's sharp look. Is that what I think it is?" James paused, confusion crossing his features. "Around your neck, sir," Sophia clarified, her voice rising with emotion. "Is that a Medal of Valor?" The diner fell completely silent. Marcus's face drained of color as James slowly reached into his shirt and pulled out the medal that hung on a chain next to his service ID. He didn't display it proudly. He simply held it in his palm, almost apologetically. "My brother's a firefighter," Sophia explained, her voice soft but carrying in the silent diner. "He made sure I knew what this medal means. It's the highest honor a firefighter can receive." She turned to Marcus, her eyes flashing. "Do you have any idea what someone has to do to earn this? They have to risk their life above and beyond the call of duty." Marcus stood frozen, his earlier confidence evaporating as the implication sank in. He had just denied service to a Medal of Valor recipient, a living legend, someone who had performed acts of heroism beyond imagination. One of the older customers, a man in his 70s, slowly stood up from his booth. "Sir," he addressed James, his voice slightly shaky, "I was a paramedic for 40 years. Never met a Medal of Valor recipient in person. There aren't many of you alive." He turned to Marcus. "Son, do you have any idea who you just insulted?" James shook his head gently. "I was just doing my job like anyone else would have." The humility only made the moment more powerful. Another customer had pulled out his phone, quickly searching online. "Wait, you're James Walker. You're the firefighter who carried 4 children out of that collapsing school in 2011. That building was literally falling down around you." The customer turned her phone around, showing a news article with a much younger James being awarded the medal by the governor of Oregon. "I remember that day." Another diner chimed in. "The Portland School Rescue. They teach about it in emergency response training now." Marcus's face had gone from pale to ashen. The man he had just refused service to, insulted to his face, wasn't just any retired firefighter. He was a living part of Oregon's history, a man whose courage had been recognized at the highest level. The diner had transformed. Where moments before there had been tension, now there was reverence. Several customers were standing, phones out, whispering to each other as they recognized a quiet hero in their midst. "Sir," Marcus finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper, "I've made a terrible mistake. Please, your breakfast is on the house. Your grandson's party too. Anything you want." But James simply shook his head. "Thank you, but I think I'll find somewhere else." His words carried no anger, no resentment, just quiet dignity. As James turned to leave again, customers began to stand one by one, not in protest, but in respect. A spontaneous guard of honor formed, faces solemn with admiration. That's when Marcus rushed forward, blocking the door. His earlier arrogance had vanished, replaced by genuine remorse. "Please, sir, I was wrong, inexcusably wrong. I let one bad experience cloud my judgment. I forgot what the uniform means, what people like you sacrifice for people like me." James studied the man's face, searching for sincerity. After a long moment, he spoke. "It's not about the medal. It's not even about me. It's about respecting what others have given for this community, whether they have medals or not." Marcus nodded, shame evident in every line of his face. "I understand that now, and I promise you, No first responder will ever be turned away from my door again. Please give me a chance to make this right." The diner remained silent, the collective breath held as they waited for James's response. Finally, James gave a single, measured nod. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my grandson wants chocolate chip pancakes shaped like fire trucks. Can you manage that?" Marcus's relief was palpable. "Yes, sir." The best chocolate chip fire truck pancakes he's ever had. The next morning, when James arrived with his grandson, they found the diner decorated with red and white streamers. A hand-painted banner read, "Happy birthday, future hero." Every customer stood when they entered, and Marcus, humbled and forever changed, personally served the chocolate chip pancakes shaped like fire trucks, just as promised. "Look, Grandpa!" the boy exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder as Marcus set down a plate with a perfectly crafted fire truck pancake, complete with syrup wheels and whipped cream windows. "It's just like your old truck." James smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. "Even better, because you can eat this one." Marcus hovered nearby, still anxious to make amends. "Mr. Walker, there's something else I'd like to show you, if you don't mind." He led James, his grandson, to a freshly cleared wall near the entrance. "We're calling it the Wall of Service," Marcus explained, gesturing to several framed photographs already hanging there. "For local heroes, firefighters, paramedics, police officers. I'd be honored if you would let us include your photo." James studied the wall thoughtfully. Among the photos was a news clipping about the Portland school rescue, carefully framed. "My dad was a firefighter," Marcus admitted quietly. "We had a falling out years ago. I think I've been carrying that resentment for too long." Understanding dawned on James's face. He placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Reconciliation is never too late, son." The story of the Medal of Valor recipient and the diner spread through Portland like wildfire. Marcus kept his word. A first responder discount became permanent, and the Wall of Service grew with photos submitted by proud families throughout the community. As for James, he remained unchanged, a quiet hero who never sought recognition, who carried his medal not as a badge of pride, but as a reminder of the children he'd saved and the colleagues who never came home. James and his grandson became regular customers at Ember Grill. Marcus's business flourished as the story spread. But more importantly, the diner became a gathering place of community, a place where service was honored and remembered. 2 months later, at the grand reopening celebration, Marcus invited his father, retired from the Seattle Fire Department after 25 years of service. The reconciliation wasn't perfect, but it was a start, inspired by a chance encounter with a quiet hero who taught him about dignity and respect. So what would you do if you were in Marcus's position? Would you have the courage to admit your mistake and make things right? Would you recognize that sometimes our prejudices blind us to the extraordinary people walking among us? Let me know in the comments below how you've been humbled by encountering unexpected heroes in your own life. Have you ever misjudged someone based on appearances only to discover their true worth later? Remember, sometimes the most important medals are the ones we can't see, the invisible scars and sacrifices carried by those who serve our communities every day. Like this video if it moved you, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the true meaning of honor